Rick Rogers, Module 9, Self-Assessment Reflection. Digital Technology in the 21st Century, 21st Century Presentations. For the past 3 years, I was a safety director in the North Dakota oil fields. Every Tuesday, 3 times a day, I would have to hold safety meetings with employees, management, and contractors, looking at pictures like this. I went on accident sites, pretty horrific sometimes, and when you see this every day, it makes you really pay attention to what's going on. Now, I could give you plenty of pictures, but we're going to move forward. Just think of how horrific this could be, and this somebody you know and love. So I would teach with presentation schedule, lectures, presentations, safety organization meetings, and training new personnel. I was like a caveman when it came to 21st century digital media. I probably didn't know as much as I do now, and I have learned a lot, so we're going to go over what I've learned. This is how I used to do a PowerPoint. PowerPoint template, heading, subheading, bullets, and multiple sentences or subjects to look at. Probably overcluttered most of my slideshows as well. But I learned in the 21st century how to use video and slides and create a better presentation to target my audience. To really look at what does the audience want to see and how to keep them entertained and involved and keep them engaged. I realize that there's a balancing act between the presentation and the amount of information that you want to give, as well as the visuals and the sound and the clips of what you want to show. And I learned that I have to figure out that balancing act, sort of like our elephants here on the balls. One of the things I learned in the class was always leave them wanting more. Because I was a safety trainer, I tend to give a lot of information and I tend to help my people understand and answer all the questions. But I realize that that takes away the hook to get their attention. I also started to learn more about the storytelling journey and how to incorporate storytelling. I can tell stories, but I never really understood the format or the pattern that it usually took. So here's a couple of representations about storytelling and how to map it out prior to actually doing your speech or your presentation. Some steps you can read about storytelling. This is just another visual to help you look at it. Simple things like add drama and intrigue and be authentic. Use an authentic voice and use your hand gestures and body gestures and your eye contact if that's what makes you comfortable, if that's who you are. I also learned that once upon a time, and you can continue from there, but also if you just figure out a better way to say once upon a time, it's sort of like the same thing with children's fairy tales. Once upon a time there was, well, you can say, back in 1993, there was an accident and, or, do you know about this story? Do you know about this situation? So once upon a time is a great way to start a presentation. I learned that it needs to take time building the presentation. I need to understand to build the presentation, to really look at what I want to say, how I want to say it, who I'm going to say it to, and deliver what message that I am teaching on or discussing. So when we started with the 21st century media, we got into the storytelling. Here's some ideas and different ways that 21st century media is being used. Computers, image capturing devices, audio devices. There's a whole plethora of tools to be used, as well as the storytelling map and the pattern, again, in a simpler version. Many times when teaching, I would fall on the sword. Falling on the sword means telling something maybe self-deprecating about yourself and something that had happened to you, so that you can humanize yourself and get to the audience and touch an emotion that they might feel, instead of just being the person up on stage talking. So I fall on the sword many times and talk about mistakes that I've made and how I recovered and what I've done from that. One of the things I think is funny is when you're doing the speeches is emotions. And there's so many different types of emotions. There's anger, confusion, frightened, happy, excitement, love. The story and the speech and the presentation should touch one of these emotions, whether it's jumping on a bed or raising your hands up and celebrating. Crying, anger, frustration, all of those emotions should be involved in that story or in the speech that you're giving. Hopefully you're connecting with the crowd and touching one of those emotions. And then hopefully you get your point across and you don't end up looking lost and confused like some of the people in here, or wanting to run away. In the new digital age, it seems like color schemes and backgrounds and patterns have changed so much, with high quality images and color schemes, the different patterns that you can make, whether using a template or not a template, or creating your own. Customize that screen to give the message, to help deliver that message, to help the audience stay entertained. Look for high quality graphics that get their attention. Another piece of the 21st century presentation is the ecosystem. And the ecosystem in presentation means the visual presentation, the content, and delivery. As you can see, it's like a stool. The stool has 3 legs, and if you don't balance it out properly, then you're going to have a crooked stool that's never going to stand up on its own. So you have to look at the visual, the content, and the 3-legged stool. You have to be confident in what you're saying. Like Clint Eastwood up there, he looks confident. Or the believe you can and you're halfway there, Theodore Roosevelt. If you believe in yourself, then you can do it. You're halfway there, like the slide shows. I have learned to go through things like a fine-tooth comb and to edit it out and to look for the things that don't need, find the fluff and get rid of it. Some of my editing tools that I've learned in the classroom. I learned to analyze the audience. Think about who they are, why they're there. What's their level of expertise? If I'm teaching a lecture, am I telling a story? Or is it just a whole new group of people? So you have to analyze the audience as well. One message, one slide. When, like a composer, you're putting it all together. You're adding the music with the lyrics and composing a story or a speech or a presentation. So one slide, one message is a new rule that I learned. With today's interactive media and the high quality digital presentations that are out there and the different pictures through stock images, you shouldn't have to sit through boring slideshows anymore with bullets and PowerPoints and white on black and black on white. You have all these beautiful pictures that you can pull from. Another thing I learned of the 3 things most important to me that I would add to a presentation in the future is high quality pictures, using the slide sorter to put my story together, to be able to look at it, organize it, and structure it in the way that I want to tell it. And to use the high quality pictures that are available, as well as with everything else, with the new messages, high quality pictures, and high technology. There's also animated PowerPoints that you can get. Unfortunately, I couldn't make one work this time, but I'm still working on that. And that's basically everything I've learned. My comfort level prior to the class, speaking in front of people, I'm always comfortable as long as I know what I'm going to say and I have a good message to relay. And now, after the class, I think I'm even more comfortable with creating a presentation. So in conclusion, I've learned quite a lot from the class, specifically how to use those 3 tools, how to use the ecosystem, and going forward, that's what I plan on doing. And that's my presentation.